I didn't think that I was going to be making this video, as for a fair amount of time during the Diablo 4 open beta, the game was essentially non-functional for me, and it was nigh impossible to play, let alone try and get footage from. But after a lot of tweaking and a lot of finagling, I managed to get it to work and get some footage. So let's talk about the Diablo 4 open beta, Blizzard's latest foray into the action RPG genre. Let's talk about it. Hello everyone, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and as I alluded to in the intro, this experience with the Diablo 4 open beta was almost no experience at all for me, as I had a hell of a time just getting the game to work, no pun intended. If you're at all familiar with Diablo 4, with the open beta that's occurring this weekend, March 24th to the 26th, I believe it started the 24th, then you've probably heard about the server connectivity issues, login queues, memory leak issues, high-res texture pack nonsense, whatever, all that type of stuff. But if you're not, we're going to go through that quickly, because the barrier to entry here on a sheer getting the game to work scale was massive. But the opportunities that I did have to play, and I could potentially play a little bit more, the beta is still going on as I'm recording this, but the opportunities that I had to play were actually pretty good, and that's coming from someone who has very much not had the traditional Diablo experience growing up. So we're going to talk about the background that I have with Diablo really quickly, talk about the good and the bad. Maybe we'll talk about the bad first. Let's actually talk about the bad first, get that out of the way. And give my overall thoughts, because there's actually something here once you can get past all the nonsense of making the game function. So that background in Diablo, as I mentioned, is a little bit odd because I had never actually played Diablo 1 or 2 growing up. I actually played Diablo 2 for the first time on, like, I don't know, he said it was a legit copy, but I feel like it was definitely some sort of cracked, downloaded, pirated thing that a friend gave me in high school to get me to play with him. And that was my first experience with Diablo 2, and, I mean, it was a game. Didn't really grab my attention. I liked the atmosphere, I liked the story and the setting, but I think because I didn't have that nostalgic connection to it, and I would argue the game hadn't aged well even 10 years ago, back when I first played it. Oh god, probably more than that, actually. More like 13 years ago, probably. It definitely had not aged gracefully, in my opinion, and it didn't really draw me in. But I was interested in the world and the classes and the overall concept of the playstyle. So when Diablo 3 came around, all of my friends, again, in high school were picking it up, I said, sure, why not? Again, I don't remember the exact dates, but we played in high school, and it was fine. We played through the story. I played a barbarian. It was a fun adventure with my friends. The story absolutely failed to draw me in any meaningful way. And as harsh as it is to say, Diablo 3 is one of the games that I legitimately fell asleep playing multiple times. And that's not a point of praise, like, oh, I stayed up until 5 a.m. playing this game because it was so good and then I passed out. No, it was like 10 or 11. And I've naturally always been someone who's up till like 1:30, 2 o'clock. And it just put me to sleep. So as you might be able to imagine, as much as I did have fun running through it with my friends, I had very little interest in making other characters or doing any of like the post-game real content where the real game begins. That didn't interest me, and I tried multiple times over the years to get back into it. And I just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. Then Reaper of Souls came around, and it was $40 for an expansion pack and a character, a necromancer, that I ostensibly would have loved to play. It's really the only class that I was super interested in Diablo 3 to begin with, and it wasn't there at base, and I wasn't about to give them 2/3 of the price of the base game when the base game put me to sleep. So that's my background with Diablo. So you know I don't have a positive bias in favor of the game. Do I potentially have a negative bias? Maybe. But I want the game to be good. I would much rather there be more good games than not good games, regardless of what the game is. out there for people to enjoy. And I have a pretty open mind. I've been excited to check out Diablo 4, but that is where we get to the bad of this beta. And again, I mean, we largely already talked about it. I'd heard about the server issues, I'd heard about the connectivity issues, but I was like, it's a free open beta, I'll download it, check it out if I get the chance, whatever. And immediately got dropped into the login queue that people were talking about, 50-minute, 60-minute, hour-and-a-half queues. I got hit with a 45-minute queue at first, got disconnected right as the queue ended, had to re-enter the queue, did that, I think, 3 times. It got progressively faster each time, down to like 25 minutes on the last queue. Before I finally got in, watched the opening cutscene. It was really cool. We'll talk about that in the good. And tried to get into the game, and immediately I got a memory access error and then a corrupted files error in short order. And the game essentially didn't brick my PC, but crashed everything. It just gobbled up all of my system memory and made everything explode. And it's important to note here, yes, this was on PC. I've been hearing that the console playtest experience has been a lot better. But I have a pretty beefy PC. I wouldn't say it's top of the line, but I can play, let alone record, pretty much anything that I set my mind to. There's not really been a single thing that has caused me issues since I built this PC. I've got a 3080, I've got good RAM, good memory, all that type of stuff. A solid CPU. And I mean, this beta just blew everything up.
But it is.
What followed was about 24 hours of trying to make the damn thing work, because as much as it didn't really feel worth my time, I still wanted to check it out. I still wanted to give it a fair shake. And in this beta, the Necromancer and the Druid are available. And again, if you know anything about me, Necromancy is kind of my deal. So I wanted to be able to play Necromancer, see how it felt. And I mean, I had to Google so much. I found out about the memory issues that essentially made it if you had anything else running on your PC at all, it would just crash everything because it's so poorly optimized and eats so much memory. Then I found out that there was, in fact, an actual memory leak that required frequent restarts, which if there was a queue, it'd obviously be a problem because then it would make you wait another 30 minutes to an hour to get back into the game when you reset it after like 20 minutes to keep the memory leak from blowing everything up. Then I found out that there's actually issues specifically with the high-res texture pack that the game automatically installs unless you modify the install when you first try and download it. It doesn't tell you it's downloading this. That cuts the install size in half, has pretty much no noticeable impact on the actual visual quality of the game because it's basically for 4K and up monitors. And that apparently fixes the memory issue. To do that, I had to reinstall the beta. People said you could just go in and modify the install. That did not work for me because it had corrupted data, so I had to reinstall the beta without this high-res texture pack. Cut the install size in half, was able to boot up, and the game just locked up on the menu. Don't know why. Closed it, reopened it, did that 2 more times, and then finally I was able to actually make a character. However, that's not where my trials and tribulations ended. No, we're not doing this chronologically through my playtime. We're just going to talk about all the bad first. I was able to make a character and got through the opening dungeon, initial story beat, got to the next cutscene, corrupted files. Please scan and repair to make the game work. Full crash. Again, locked up my system. I mean, it was that point that I threw in the towel for the night because it's like, man, why am I fighting to make your beta work for me? I could be doing anything else. And so I did. I went and I played probably 3 hours of Iron Banner in Destiny, and it made me very happy. So came back to it the next day, did some more fixes, made some more modifications, turned down settings to medium because a friend told me that it wasn't just the high-res texture packs for him. He also had to turn down the settings to medium. Even though his PC can run anything on high, this game is apparently just so poorly optimized that you need to have, like, I don't even know, like dual-mounted 4080s with some sort of, like, liquid-cooled CPU built-in processing unit, like, dedicated for the game with a second core that just runs your operating system. I don't know. Who knows? So it was a whole time, but I came back the next day and got it to work, actually. There was an update that Blizzard had pushed that maybe fixed some stuff. It didn't really specify. I couldn't find any patch notes. But I was actually able to boot the game up, and I was able to play. I picked up where I had left off. I was like a quest step back from where the game had crashed me. I was like, okay, this is actually okay. We're getting somewhere. But then, and you might notice from the background footage that I have playing, as I started to try to record, now that I had passed the very intro stage, again, that memory issue, dude. OBS kept dying because it kept not having enough memory to record. So I was able to get some footage here and there. Some bursts of recording time were longer than others, but I mean, this game eats memory like no tomorrow. And I feel like it's fair to say that I shouldn't have to upgrade my RAM just because your beta of a isometric action RPG is such a poorly optimized memory hog that I literally need more memory to try and play it and record it simultaneously on medium settings without your high-res texture pack. It seems like a little bit of a problem. But technical issues aside, the game itself was actually quite fun. So let's talk about the good. The good is that the atmosphere of this game, I don't know if it could possibly be more up my alley. It's dark, it's creepy, it's gritty, it feels like the atmosphere is just so oppressive and twisted, and this is a world that you know you are going to have to struggle through. It has a similar... It feels similarly to me as FromSoft's games do. Even though, other than maybe Bloodborne, it's not as in-your-face with the dramatic, gory devastation, downfall of humanity stuff. As Diablo 4 is, it still feels the same, and I dig that. That's awesome. I'm immediately interested in the story, curious to know what's going on, and then the intro segments where you actually go through with your character. Very well done, very atmospheric, creepy dreams, strange villagers that kind of go all midsummery on you, and it just takes itself very seriously as a story that is supposed to feel like you are on the back foot from the jump. And I love that because it gives you a base to build from in your success. For me with Diablo 3, one of the issues was like, yeah, it's like, oh, the Nephilim and the darkness and the demons, but it's like, you start off and you're like able to dash across the stream, you're able to dash across the screen, explode 50 dudes, slap your hand into the ground, leap 45 feet into the air, cleave a guy in half with your axe, and it's like, I'm level 2. This is insane. Not the case with this. You start out as a necromancer anyway, and you can raise skeletons and you can hit stuff with your sickle. And it's not hard per se, but it feels like you are very limited in your capability. As far as the actual gameplay is concerned, I did get a few more abilities fairly quickly, started getting loot fairly quickly, and you start off being able to summon 4 skeletons, which was more than enough to destroy anything and everything that came across my path in the maybe 3 hours that I've played thus far at this point. I'm level 7, I believe. And it feels good, man. I'm playing on World Level 2, the highest difficulty that I have access to at the moment. And I'm just cruising through dungeons, through the open world, learning more about stuff, getting hints of an idea as to where the story might go. And it's nice. Like, I'm excited to play more, which I don't think I've ever been for any Diablo game I've played in the past. So that's definitely a mark in its favor. I'm curious to see where the story actually goes, what it entails. Because again, the story in 3 did not leave me impressed, but I'm immediately more drawn into the story in 4. And I'm excited to grow this character. Now, in the beta, you don't get progress to carry over to the full game if you get the full game, so like, you know, it wouldn't be the same character if I were to play Diablo 4, but I'm still excited while the beta is open to get back in and just get a little bit further, see what cool abilities I get, see what cool loot I get. And like the loot itself, talking about that, we'll get to skills in a second, has been fun. I've gotten very basic stuff, a couple like blue magical items, and that's it. But like I've had swords, wands, sickles, two-handed swords, big two-handed scythes, all sorts of fun stuff like that. The armor has been varied and cool and, like, very immediately visually distinct, even the very low tier armor. And it's very apparent because the character details are very high res, even just like from the top down perspective. And then when you're in your inventory, you can very clearly see all the details about your character. It's very nice. The skill tree seems cool. I'm going right now for like a decomposition essence, I believe it is, or energy, basically, regeneration build where I have all of my skeletons going and I stand in the back and basically drain the life force from my enemies to cast more spells. And I can't remember the name of it at the moment, but I've got a little, like, globule bomb that comes out and it explodes on a target and then leaves a pool of damage over time when things step on it on the ground. And it's just been nice. I get to sit back, be a little minion master, watch my skellies go and attack stuff from afar. And if anything gets in range, I can smack it with my scythe. It's pretty fun. Where things will go from there, I mean, I have no idea. Again, I'm not a Diablo 4 endgame person. I don't know what build synergies there might be. Even stuff like Path of Exile has put me to sleep in the past. And I've never tried Lost Ark, so, like, I'm not an endgame builder in these games. I don't know what type of viability there would be for endgame in this game. I've got no clue. But as far as a fairly, I'd say I'm a newcomer. Like, even though I played Diablo 3, I think I'm a newcomer. As a newcomer to the series compared to most people who are probably playing it, it was a very good first impression. So I don't really have that much else that I can say about it. Like I said, my playtime has been fairly limited due to the just myriad of bugs and issues and everything. But if you're watching this on the 26th when it goes up and there's still a little bit of time left in the open beta, I mean, if you can get past the technical issues or you're on a console that you can access the beta through, then maybe give it a shot. I was surprised. I wasn't really planning to check this out at all until I started hearing a lot of good stuff about the world and the setting, and I like it thus far. I'm going to go play more. So, that said, my name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. If you guys have any thoughts about the beta yourself, talk about it in the comments. Again, if you're a Diablo vet and you have thoughts in particular about where the game is going, I'd love to hear about it. That is a perspective that I do not have, but I would like to get a little bit of a glimpse into that world. And if you have any other thoughts, let me know as well. Also, if you would be interested in seeing Diablo 4 on the channel once it releases in full, either in streams or videos or, I mean, maybe guides, but I don't think I'm qualified to do guides for this. Let me know that as well, because if they hammer out the technical issues, it could be a lot of fun to do. So let me know all that. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up here, so I hope you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there. And remember, be good to each other. Bye now.